Laurent Batchelor. Thank you so much for being a part of this panel, for being a Naturally New York board member, and great supporter of the organization as a whole. I'm going to kick it over to you to help moderate and get started. Go ahead.
Yeah, this has been a long time coming. There are a lot of faces here that you've seen their brands, but now you're going to learn the people behind them. This is a great opportunity. I'll start off just by going around the room, just saying hello, and let these guys give a little intro. I'll start off with Khadija. We'll start off in Philly. Khadija has an amazing story. She saw saw a problem, she created a solution, not just for herself, for other women with hair. You can share a little light about yourself. Go right ahead, Khadija.
Absolutely. Hey, everybody that is joining. My name is Khadija Doso. I'm the founder and CEO of Doso Beauty. We're an organic beauty supply company, but we focus mostly on hypoallergenic hair extensions that's free of toxic chemicals, and also organic hair care products that have been created for people with sensitive scalp and skin. Very excited to be on the panel and discuss some stuff about Doso Beauty that we got going on, my story, how we got started, and really just to be amongst like-minded folks who really care not only about the products that we are ingesting, but the products that we use on a day-to-day basis from a beauty perspective.
Amazing. Next up is Bradley. Bradley's from Brooklyn. You know, like, I don't know about you, I don't know if you're having cereal every morning. What's your breakfast routine? How about oats? But here's a guy who comes from the running community. Great spirit, he's an amazing entrepreneur. Look forward to you guys meeting Bradley. Tell them about your spoonful.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for the intro, Laurent. I'm Bradley Gifford. I'm the founder of Spoonful. It's a functional breakfast and snack food company aimed to support daily wellness and performance. And we right now have a line of ready-to-eat, high-protein, probiotic overnight oats. We're on a mission to be the Ben& Jerry's of breakfast and make healthy eating an accessible and enjoyable experience.
Thank you very much. Ivy, if you've gone to any natural product events throughout New York the last couple of years or a trade show, you've come across Ivy. She's from the Bronx, and if you don't know about her brand, she'll make sure you're aware of it. And if you don't, you'll have to catch up. Today, after about 2 years, she graduated college in 2019. Her product, Nurir, is distributed across the Northeast at all Stop and Shops. Like I said, you have to catch up. Beautiful story. Go ahead, tell them more, Ivy.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ivy Asamoah, and I'm the founder of Nurir. And Nurir is a non-alcoholic West African-inspired sparkling juice brand. And I started Nurir because, especially during the pandemic, a lot of people couldn't travel, they missed home. And the goal was to bring flavors of home to people who were stuck here. And most importantly, making products that didn't have any junk additives or preservatives in there, because coming from the Bronx, a lot of our bodegas and grocery stores, a lot of the stuff that they're selling here have high sugar and salt. So my goal was to really bring a refreshing twist to a traditional drink that my family and people from the Caribbean, Latin America, and people from all over have been enjoying. So my goal here is to tell you a little bit more about myself, my journey, and to learn from you all as well. So I'm very excited to be here. Thank you.
And our fourth panelist is Amici. Amici has an amazing story. You figure he's the founding manager of Run the Jewels, the group Run the Jewels, which is made up, as you all know, Killer Mike, which has won 3 Grammys. But beyond that, he had this vision of transcending and trying to connect the brand to culture in other ways. So long story short, he started about 4 or 5 years ago, branching out and creating partnerships with breweries to amplify Black brewery owners, craft beer brewery owners across the country. They became very successful, doing these partnerships, right? It was really about trying to help build awareness for innovation from all colors across the country. And then last year was the 10th anniversary of Run the Jewels, and he has a great idea. It's like, well, we're going to create our own brand. And Amici tell you there. He's also a University of Michigan graduate, so
Go Blue. Sorry, can't help myself. Thank you, Laurent, and thanks for having me here. As Laurent mentioned, my day job is being an executive and entrepreneur in the creative arts, and Run the Jewels is one of my big clients. It's actually about 7 years ago, we jumped into the craft beer space. We had no plan to do it, but we had an opportunity and we did, and that led us to where we are now, which is, as Laurent mentioned, we launched our own beverage company last year, which has gone really, really well. It's been a really interesting journey, the whole 7 years, and learned a lot, and hopefully can impart some of that experience and insight to y'all today.
Oh, thank you. That's actually a perfect segue because I would love to go back to you then, Amici. Where are you now in terms of Run the Jewels and your product you've just launched, Juice Runners, in terms of is this self-funded? Did you get outside capital?
We have built our business, our beverage business, all of our businesses actually, whether it's music or any of the verticals we're in. We have mainly self-financed. When it came to the beverage industry, we were very lucky because we started doing collaborations. Therefore, we didn't have to, A, take all the risk because we have partners doing a lot of the heavy lifting, and B, we didn't depend on it as one of our main revenue streams because we had so many other things going on. So we could take our time, be a little more strategic. But we did risk our own capital, and we have to this date 100% as we've reinvested profits from other businesses into this. And we are about to go and raise some money for it, but we're born entrepreneurs. So if you're an entrepreneur, as any of these folks on the panel know, you got to take risks. You got to put up your own capital. You've got to do things. You have to invest in yourself. And that's something that we've always done. And I think that's an important lesson for all entrepreneurs. Yes, you have to raise capital. You have to do all of those things, but you got to bet on yourself first and foremost.
Betting on yourself. Before you got this momentum, talk about the collaborations and partnerships you did with like Brooklyn Brewery to the black craft brewers, area.
Absolutely. We are the kings of collabs in general. I mean, everything from Goose Island was our first beer collab, and that, we've done over 40 cents around the world. The Brooklyn Brewery being a really important one for us as well. Shout out to Garrett Oliver, the head brewmaster there and the top black brewer on the planet. But we've done Nike collabs. We've done, we've done Volcom collabs for apparel. We've done all kinds of different collabs. And again, that allowed us to learn a lot. It allowed us to, you have to be a good partner in any business you do. You know what I mean? Whether it's you're the boss or you're a partner or whatever the case may be. But collaborating got us in, got our foot in the door.
Was there an ingredient that you guys used? Because I'm going to ask Ivy next about her innovation. And you're using an ingredient from Africa, right? There was an ingredient that was special that you did with Brooklyn Brewery?
Yeah, what we did, they have an incredible program, again, shout out to Garrett, where they're working with villages in West Africa. I'm Nigerian, so that resonated particularly with me. And what they do is they buy fonio, which is an ancient West African grain. That's something that those who are not from West Africa probably not very familiar with, but it's a superfood, super grain. And what they do is they buy the grain from local villages directly and also give them the money directly. So they get the real benefits of that. And they've created this really virtuous circle and cycle that they continue to grow and grow and grow. So for us to have an opportunity to do something that gave back directly and impacted people's lives in a tremendous way back home, as well as do something that embraced our culture and us and what we felt was a positive contribution to the discussion. So again, shout out to Brooklyn Brewery for leading the charge.
Thanks a lot. Hey, Ivy, on that point, you talk to us about the innovation and how you are approaching product development and making sure it connects with a diverse audience from Africa to America and elsewhere.
Definitely. I think for me, when I started Narir, it was the idea that I grew up drinking back home what we call either Bisop or Sobolo or Zobo, depending on where you're from. And I remember growing up, because I grew up both in the Bronx and in New York, but every time it was like Easter or Christmas, or like a funeral or a party or wedding, like, you know, B-Sop was always there. And then it would be like the women, my grandma and my aunts, like, you know, like slicing up all these like pineapples and like taking out the mints and soaking it. So like, you know, I grew up around it. And then like the kids will go around. I remember being like 5 years old and like, you know, trying to scoop some of the drink, and then they'll hit me on the hand and say, hey, like, it's not, these are for the guests, like, you know, don't touch them, all that stuff. So like, you know, it was a very, it was a way where the family always came together. Like if you knew that B-Sop, like, you know, I wouldn't go to like the Easter events if B-Sop wasn't going to be there, because we all looked forward to that. So when it was time to translate that, I was like, oh my goodness, like, well, my grandparents are no longer with me, but how would they like it? So for me, when I started making the ingredients, it was very important to me that it tied back home. So I'm very, very proud to say that I source my ingredients from West Africa. It's coming from Nigeria and Ghana. And I get my pineapples, like, you know, from like, you know, West Africa, and like, you know, some parts of Asia, but I do try to incorporate that because like, that's very, very important to me. And also, I very much heavily involved my community into the process. So when I first started doing it, I actually used to have sugar in my original formulation, like, and I remember when I did it, it tasted good. And then I took them to church and I took them to my local African markets. And then they were like, oh, they're like, this is good, but it's too sweet. It's too sweet. We don't like it. And I was like, okay, what can I do to make it better? They're like, well, you know, traditionally, this is how we make it. It's a lot of fruit and then sugar. But like, you know, we are the same people that tend to have like, you know, the diabetes and a high blood pressure. And like, you know, so what can you do to make it better? So I'll go, then I'll change it up and I'll come back. And then the African aunties, like, you know, in Harlem, I'll go to Braden shop and they'll say, it's okay, it's okay, it could be better. And then I'll come back. It was that problem. So it was like that. And it was like that for like 16 months. I'll go and then they'll taste it until they were like, ah, like this is good. Until like, you know, to the point where I made it a no sugar added beverage. So for me, it was very important for me to involve like, you know, my people, my community, like, you know, people from the Bronx and Harlem from the get-go, because I was like, listen, if this doesn't translate well to them, it won't translate like, you know, to the whole world. And I want to bring something that we went from home, like something that I grew up drinking, that like, you know, my African aunties here, doesn't matter if they're from Gambia, Ivory Coast, Ghana, like, you know, Cote d'Ivoire, like this has to translate because this is like a cultural beverage that is very, very close to home. So I am very, very proud to say, and, you know, African aunties are not very easy to please, like, you know, uncles and aunts, like, you know,
Yeah.
so if they tell you it's good, then it's good. So since then, like every time, like, you know, if I'm buying ingredients, if I'm sourcing, I take someone with me, whether it be my mom or like, you know, a family member, because I need them, like, you know, to give me that feedback. So having that around me is how I've been able to, like, you know, to improve and innovate. So feedback is very important, like, you know, because if you don't have feedback, you have to be open to feedback. And without feedback, you don't improve. So I would say that for me, that process has been very hands-on, like, you know, involving like, you know, my community to help me make this, streamline the process and make really tasty beverages.
You inspired me to ask you a different question. How important is it to show up? To show up, Ivy? Because I see you at the fancy food shows. I see you at Naturally New York events. I see you at all. I see you up everywhere. So, can you talk about how important it is to show up and what you're doing it for, and what you're learning, what you're extracting from it?
Oh, yes. I think for me as an entrepreneur, I had to learn from day one that I didn't know everything, and that was okay. And but you have to be willing to learn. So I remember when I first connected with you, Laurent and Cobla, I was like, hey, like this is what I'm doing. I'm lost, like I don't know what's going on. And then Cobla was like, and Laurent, they were like, oh, reach out to Naturally New York. And then I connected with Adrian. And then Adrian was like, okay, well, you should come. And then this, so and so. So then I'll go, I'll speak to Adrian, and she'll say, okay, well, from what you're saying, you look like you might need this, like maybe talk to this person. So I think it ties into that, and that when you show up, you're able to meet people, one within the industry, and then you get to find yourself a community. And most importantly, you also meet people that have like, you know, professional experience, that know more than you, and that's how you get better. So when you show up, you're going to meet, even if you don't meet the person that you need to find, you meet someone that's connected to someone that's connected to someone that will
Yep.
help to find the person you need. And I think that that is how, like, you know, I have gotten better. So like, you know, I do the samplings and then Adrian will invite me and I show up and, you know, sample. I was like, well, it's not there yet. And she's like, it's okay, Ivy. Like, you know, it's not supposed to be perfect to date. It gets better. And so Adrian and Laurent and Cola, everybody has seen me from when wearing plastic bottles to glass bottles, like, you know, cans. So when you show up, like, it's for your own benefit, and also goes to show you that there are people who are there supporting you and cheering you from day one. It's okay if it's not perfect all the way. You just keep growing and you show up and it gets better.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's great. Perfect segue to Khadija. You've been showing up and you've been seeing the problem, and then you created a solution for her hair. Can you talk to us about that challenge, the excitement, this journey, and then we could talk about how you're scaling it.
Yeah, for sure. So, for me, I found a challenge of toxic chemicals being on braiding hair because of my own personal reaction. So I actually used to live in New York and started the brand there. And before then, my hair was buzzed and my head was really cold. So I really was like, okay, I think I need to get some braids. I hadn't had braids in years. So I had been out of the braid game essentially for a while. And I went to an African braid shop in Brooklyn, and my scalp was on fire.
Whoa.
I literally was having such a crazy allergic reaction to the braids that I had to take it out the next day. But I was like, maybe this shouldn't just be a problem for me. My mom and my grandma always like, you got sensitive skin and all those old Black fables. But what I really realized was that, okay, they weren't just blowing smoke, they were telling the truth, but there has to be something deeper. And so I started to do my own research and polling our existing community with Doso Beauty. And 10 months later, trying out new product, like testing out vendors and things like that, I was able to find our now, hypoallergenic braiding hair, which I am super, super proud of. We actually are in the process of getting a Princeton review done on our hair so that it can be claimed as 100% safe for sensitive scalp and skin. I'm very proud of that because we were able to find a problem that like hundreds of thousands of people suffer from that. Hair extensions has been around since, for the past like 200-300 years. Like we think about wigs and things like that. All of those are made of some sort of fiber. But this is an everyday product that we use when mostly 99.9% of it in the market is super, super duper toxic. So I'm excited to kind of make a hedgeway there. And then even from a statistics perspective, it's so interesting when I say this stat because most people wouldn't realize it, but Black women make up 89% of the ethnic hair care market as far as the consumption perspective, but we hold ownership of less than 3%. Just crazy. Because to think about it, the majority of the people that hold ownership within the ethnic hair care market are white and Korean men. So to think about a white or a Korean man telling me what to put in my hair or providing the products for me to put in my hair in my body on a day-to-day basis. And honestly, all of us, you probably use 5 products today alone, from the shower to grooming to everything like that. Holding ownership in a space that like literally people need on a day-to-day basis is extremely important for someone who looks like us, because we can understand from a deeper level of the actual impacts that all of those products that we use on a daily basis has on us. So I'm excited to kind of be the revolutionary in the industry. I mean, I get about 10 emails a day where people ask me, "Dear Sir, Khadija," and then they see my picture and they're like, "Oh, she's like a young woman. This is not normal." So I think it's so funny, but I'm excited to have created my own seat at the table.
Now, creating your own seat at the table, where are you now? Are you scaling? Are you looking to grow national and grocery? Is that personal capital, or is that angel investing? Where are you now?
Yes. So to date, we have raised over 600,000 in non-dilutive capital, which is not an easy feat, but we still have far to go. Our very first capital investment was from Pharrell Williams' Black Ambition HBCU Grand Prize. That was in 2021. And from there, we were able to procure quite a few other different grants, pitch competitions, some founder-friendly lending. One company that I will mention, I always am an advocate for them, is Bags, BAGS. And Bags is incredible because they help you to source founder-friendly lending and make sure that like these people aren't providing you with predatory terms and like representation and debt structure and things like that. So those are a few ways that we have have grown. And really funny enough, since we're all CPG here, I started with a lot of colors. I mean, hair, people want variety of hair. And like customers will be like, I want this color, I want that color, I want this length, I want that length. And so we actually are scaling back on cutting about 91 SKUs, so that we can really stick to everything that is hair extensions, hair product related for sensitive scalp and skin. So we are really like cutting back on SKUs so that way we can ramp up and do a huge volume, because we do really, really well on Amazon.
So what's your top 10, Khadija? If you're cutting back 91, so what are your
Yeah.
top 10, 20? What's the top shades?
Yeah. So our 3 bundle pack of our hypoallergenic braiding hair is our absolute top seller. Colors from normal colors like 1B, 1B30, 27, which is a tricolor ombre, are our top sellers. Our organic edge control is another top seller, which is incredible. We're the only edge control that is on the GoPuff platform. So we wholesale to them, which is really, really dope because we're in about 300 plus locations around the country. Rice water braid spray, which is something that's for all, helps for breakage, retention, all those things. And yeah, those are just a few of the like top couple. And our whipped shea butter is loved universally. Like I can never stop making our shea butter, even if I wanted to. The people are obsessed with it. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Perfect segue into Bradley, Brooklyn. Hey, how are you, Bradley? I don't know where to start, but I do want to start one place just to give you an ideal product for it. Can you talk to us about like examples and partnerships, collaborations you've done to help build impact for your brand, build awareness for your brand here in Brooklyn and maybe in the running community?
No, definitely. I mean, I try and look at Spoonful as kind of a entertainment or a health company that sells a product to be able to support our initiatives in the community. You know, starting as somebody when I was 12 or 13 years old, I had high blood pressure. My doctor told me I would have hypertension before I was 25. So fast forward to college, I get into running, I get into boxing, and over time, being a marketer and kind of a brand strategist, I ended up working a lot in the health and fitness industry. So seeing a lot of the products that were being, consumed by people that, had specific needs, but a lot of runners had gastrointestinal issues. They consume a lot of gels and things like that really, don't make them feel good, even if they're sedentary, let alone trying to run, a 5K or, a half marathon. So I started with my formula development there as far as actually working with a recipe developer and a running coach to create kind of the base blend that, I ended up kind of perfecting and bringing to market. But with collabs, I mean, we really try and do everything from health and wellness. We were the official nutrition partner for an upstart kind of running brand called Bandit that's based out of Brooklyn and taking the city by storm. So for the last 2 years, we've been the official nutrition partner for their marathon training program. We partner with local running groups to just give out product on a weekly basis. We partner with local running stores to, sponsor events that, if they don't have a large budget for food, we'll give them product, but also things that really express our values, not just brand building things. So we have a partnership with a local community fridge network where I dedicate about maybe anywhere from 5 to 10% of our monthly kind of volume to disperse, across the community, across the One Love fridges. So we do things like that. And then every time I host either a fundraising event, we have a partnership with a local CSA and mutual aid group called Food with Fam, where they give out produce and buy produce from local farms to be able to give out at various housing projects throughout the city, and then cook hot meals in the winter. So those are just kind of a few different things, but all in all, it's very much in the spirit of allowing the brand to kind of be this sort of vessel to be able to create more approachable experiences around health.
Who's your competitor in the market?
Mush is the Goliath to our David. They're a nationally distributed in Whole Foods nationwide product, but the thing that differentiates us from them is, we go for form, flavor, and function. I think one of the things I quickly realized when I was developing Spoonful was, especially appealing to, a more diverse audience, I'll eat something if it tastes like grass, if I know it's good for me. But, it probably has to taste good to get somebody who doesn't necessarily consider themselves healthy to have something that, is deemed by the masses healthy. So I realized very quickly, if it doesn't taste good, nobody's going to buy it, no matter how good it is for you. So how could I do that very cleanly, organically, in a way that supports local food systems. I source my organic oats from a New York State family-owned farm. We buy our milks from a local milk producer. So those are kind of different elements, that we try and do. And then, from a functional side with the actual product benefits, I look to address some of those consumer needs. So GI issues starting now, but looking at swapping the protein and probiotic for things that support cognition, sleep, women's health issues, whether it's menopause. So those are the ways that we want to go with the innovation pipeline, but we use flavor to open up people's minds and then, educate them on the health afterwards.
Do you see a difference if being a Black founder and an oat product, oat breakfast product versus if you were not? I mean, are you same challenges, same audience? Just curious.
Definitely some challenges there. I think, Spoonful is the first Black-owned refrigerated breakfast product to come to market. And I don't, kind of bang the drum on that as something to call attention as to why we're valuable, but I think it's an interesting thing to call out to pose the question to the community as to why that's the case, around lack of access to fresh food or to non-pasteurized products or preservative-free products, especially ones that appeal to a vegan population, which the fastest growing segment of vegan consumers are Black people. So that's something that, I kind of keep in mind, but yeah, challenges there around, doing things like self-fulfilling and bringing cases to a store and the manager of the store thinking that I'm a delivery driver or working for a distributor. Those are small experiences, but all the way up to, having some constraints around trying to develop a high quality product. So we actually haven't been able to scale as quickly as something that is pasteurized,
Yeah.
so quality or shelf stable. So we're able to run a lot of paid and just let it sit in a warehouse for 9 months. So having to address the challenge of obviously having, a lesser access to capital, but having something with a shorter shelf life. So the margin for error is a lot less, but we have a 90% sell through and the people that buy our product love it. And all you have to do is try it to be able to know that, we're coming with a superior offering.
Yeah, thanks. Because I was trying to figure out how to get over people's perception, like Amici, like how difficult is it to get people to realize that Junk Juice Runners is a real brand, is not just one of your collaborations you've done over the last years. How do you differentiate that when you're dealing with celebrities and corporate America and consumer audience?
It's a good question, and it's we just felt that at a certain point, from a business standpoint, collaborations are only going to get you so far. You're still splitting the money at the end of the day, 50-50, and they're probably more effective for marketing and business development than they are as a real vehicle forward. So, we figured that part out. And then, like I said earlier, we invest in ourselves anyway. When we believe in something, we back it. And it was probably a little bit tougher than we thought with the celebrity angle. I don't even really look at my guys that way. But when you enter the marketplace and you see the proliferation of celebrity brands and people, and a lot of them aren't taken very seriously, which is what we found out quickly. Because if you're not really about it, a Whole Foods or a national distributor or whomever it may be, right? The major players in the game, they don't care. They don't need you. How hard are you willing to work for your brand? How hard are you willing to hustle? How much does it mean to you? What are you willing to put on the line for it? They see that though, right? They see, and it doesn't matter if it's, what kind of product it is. If you're behind it, that goes a long way. So there's a lot of skepticism and cynicism when you have high profile names in a space putting their name on something and trying to compete. So we actually had, in some ways, a higher bar to clear. And we did that by being super professional, by being serious, by being really committed to what we do, by having a great team, and trying to be the best we could be every single day, which is what we try and do every day. And so it's been a challenge, but it's been a worthy challenge, because once you do show and prove, because like many of the other folks on the panel, quality is incredibly important to us, whether it's the music, whether it's this, you're getting a beverage, whether it's a piece of apparel, whatever the case may be. We want the fans, the customers, the audience, family, we look at them as extended family. We want them to like it, because if they like it, they really like it, they'll keep coming back. So our job is to make it really easy for them to give us money because we're giving them something of value, and our whole business is built on a value exchange. We've been around a while, you can tell from the grade, but we've learned over the years that at the end of the day, and it's maybe an oversimplification or romanticizing a little bit, but it's a value exchange. If you give something people of value that's worthy of their time and their money and their bodies or whatever the case may be, they'll pay you back in all kinds of ways.
Thank you. Thank you. How are you building your team, Khadija? I know you must be building a great team. How are you building a team to help you get to accomplish your vision?
Yeah, I mean, so I started off as a solopreneur, as everybody kind of does, and I quickly realized that like I have a certain set of skill sets. My background, I come from management consulting, and so we functionally as consultants work on teams, and we have our own individual, skill sets that we have, backgrounds and everything. So for me, I have actually leaned my team down. So we are a lean team of 5, where I have a social media and marketing director, a customer service agent who handles like customer interactions, requests, inquiries, helping to build out our Amazon store, all the things customer centric. An administrative assistant who does operational functions as well too, and an amazing web developer who she has been with the brand for years and just loves everything about the brand. Is a great consumer as well too. But the key to really building a strong team, especially in a consumer product based business, is really understanding what your needs are at the time versus longevity, right? A lot of times people want to hire somebody that they can keep forever. And I've been victim to it, like, oh, I really want to keep this operations manager, but they were not providing me with, the things that I need to grow the business. And so being able to hire, like wisely, but also to be able to fire quick is going to be everything that is necessary and needed for, you to grow and to be successful. The other thing is as well too is that technology and AI is so helpful, and I know it can be a touchy topic about, oh, AI is taking off certain jobs, right? Yeah, it is, but it's automating and like mitigating the risk of human error. So, for example, some of the forecasting that we need done for forecast demanding product inventory, our sales across all of our platforms, that I once had a person doing, I'm now able to pay a fraction of the cost for a system to be able to automate and act as a data warehouse to pull all of that data in and make actual data driven decisions versus human driven decisions, right? And so being able to utilize different tools like that can help you to automate and really just have data structured things versus people structured things is a way that I think as an e-commerce business, we're going to continue to grow and scale even faster because it won't be reliant completely on just, humans and people's feelings and X, Y, and Z. It's really about like the data, right? What are the
Yep.
sales saying, right? Like what are the customers buying? Not what are they adding in the cart? What are they actually buying, reviewing, and telling people that they love about the brand?
No, also that's perfect segue. Last question for Ivy. Ivy, now your brand's across all Stop and Shops Northeast. So, any insight you want to share with people just on dealing with merchandising, demoing, making sure they can discover your product, New Rare? I mean, any ideas, any thoughts?
Yes, so I wanted to clarify. So we are not all, but we are in select. We're in a huge amount. So hopefully, hopefully this year we can be in all. But I think for me, with my products, I actually haven't done one demo yet because for me, I reached out to, I think it's also very important that when you're speaking to a retailer that's interested in you, I guess have like some sort of relationship and expectation. So when I reached out to them, it's just like, hey, I want to do demos. And they're like, well, realistically, you would either have to work with a brand team because you can't be in Vermont and upstate New York and Connecticut and Rhode Island and Cambridge, Massachusetts, all at once. I think for me, what I figured that I needed to work on was improve my social media, which is still a work in progress because unlike Khadija, I'm still a one-woman team and still trying to figure out what comes next and what I'm doing. So right now, this year, my goal is to find the extension of myself in terms of who will help me like, marketing and all that stuff. So up until then, it's me. So like, I'll go on social media and then I'll email like, my customers, and I have like a list of when I used to do pop-ups like for the past 2-3 years and let them know that I'm in Stop and Shop, and then they'll take a picture of it and then they'll DM me. So that's how I've been able to do it, because I can't do like, the demos. But the good thing is last 2 weeks Stop and Shop came back and they put in a place another PO, and they told me that like, some locations are even sold out. So like I'm very excited about that. So like, just I keep on communicating with them, and hopefully this summer when it gets warmer, I'll have more opportunities to do like, more pop-ups and events where people can do tastings. But as we grow, it's tough. It's like, really sit there and like, do demos, but definitely that's something that I'm working around to figure out like how to do that.
Thank you. Thank you, Adrian. Thank you, guys. That was awesome. Is this a perfect time to be thinking about Q&A, or continue asking more questions? Go ahead.
Well, we do have a question that was shared. What's your advice for vetting potential partners in the broad sense, business relationships, brand collaborations, etc.?
Any of you can take the question. I'm just here.
I can start. Oh, you go, Bradley. You go.
You sure?
Yeah, I'll go after you.
We don't have a scientific process really. It starts with do we want to collaborate with that person? Is there a reason, right? Is there an authentic reason to do the collaboration? And authentic could be a lot of things, right? It could be strategic, market share, it could be all kinds of reasons, right? But is it a real reason? Because if it's not, you could be wasting a lot of time and money. Also, is the product that you're pushing quality? Was the thing that you're collaborating around something of value? That's how we sort of look at it. And really, do we like the people, that we're collaborating with? Can we work with them effectively? If we are passionate about it, there's just those few things boxes we need to check. And then the rest is execution, planning and execution, etc. But it's got to be for the right reasons. I mean, I hate to oversimplify it, but it's what it really comes down to for us.
Yeah, my commentary is on retailers and team. With respect to retailers, I look at, can we exchange on value? Kind of like Michi mentioned in the beginning of the call. Ramon, who's from Tin Building, they reached out to me because they love the fact that we were not pasteurized, we were Black owned, and we were made in Brooklyn. And they've been able to work with us. We were picked to be in the Fresh Direct incubator for similar reasons. And finding retailers such as that, you're able to negotiate on better placement, a more friendly and amenable demo schedule. You're able to do more things for your brand to help you have better sell-through, or even do things like extract panel data from a specialty grocer that you may not be able to get, until you're in a more conventional channel. So being able to find relationships like that allows you to not only, build your brand a bit more at the store level, but also have, better velocities as well. And then you take home, more margin ultimately. But then on the team side, I would say, I think as I'm going through the process of building a team, Khadija, I think I need to sidebar with you and take some notes. But I really look at, are you somebody that has had experience actually being in the trenches and getting something done? I think a lot of times as founders we mislead ourselves thinking about a lot of things that we lack. So we try and, hire a big name to be able to, bring some clout to our operation and might believe that they have all the answers. But instead of looking for, that MBA that's looking to cash in on their degree and, works 6 hours or less every day, finding somebody that has had experience actually growing a product in a category that might be undefined, or addressing specific needs about your customer in a way where they brought something specialty to the masses for, everyday product adoption. So I look at, like you said, Khadija, really assessing what your needs are and finding people that can meet that, as opposed to a fix for the general perception and identity, because, you can't care about that.
Yeah, and if I could just add one more thing to that too, especially as brand, as we are all have our individual brands, is also brand collaborations as well too. And so for us, so Daryl just wrote in the chat, we were chosen and selected from Shea Moisture to attend Dartmouth for an executive
Oh,
leadership program
great.
this past December. It was incredible, amazing. I made so many amazing connections that like literally now we're lifelong founder friends. One of those connections was with someone who she has another product that is braid related called the braid releaser. And so finding also other products and brands that have adjacent products or similar target audiences is really, really key, especially when you're a product-based business, because it's an easy upsell for both of you guys, right? So you want to keep in mind, like, what product are they selling? What is their brand ethos? What's their product price point? What is their target consumer? And then also, are they genuinely a good person? I mean, there's plenty of other, hair brands, hair care brands that are out there, but they, have not presented themselves to have the best moral compass, or we don't have a lot of things in common. And so you don't want to get into business with people who you can't trust, whether that is a collaboration or not. If you guys are collaborating on something, that means that you are going to be known to be associated with this specific brand X, Y, and Z. So you really just want to be really conscientious about, is it a great product market fit, but who is the person and what is their reputation in the industry as well too.
That's right. If I could add one last thing, the ultimate vetting source is great legal, great lawyers. So that's a worthwhile investment for everyone if you're serious.
We do have some more questions. Can you talk about a time where you wanted to quit your venture, but perused it anyway? Can't quit. Especially go ahead.
Right. Anyone? Well, I think it's always, that's actually it's a really good question, because I think for entrepreneurs who are so passionate about what they do, I think it's hard to get an entrepreneur to quit, right? You can get frustrated, you can have bad days, you can have, and we all do, right? And it sometimes seems insurmountable. But I think that's one of the things that separates entrepreneurs from everyone else. And let's be clear, only a small percentage of people are delusional and crazy enough to be entrepreneurs, okay? Who are willing to bet on themselves, who are willing to eat what they kill, no safety net, da 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 da. Most people won't do that to themselves, right? Or their families, right? So you've got to be willing to fight for what you believe in, and your pride, your dream, your company, everything you stand for, all of it on the line, right? And that, see, to my earlier point, we don't really quit easily. We get frustrated. I think the only thing that really makes an entrepreneur quit is no money. Because most of us, if there's a dollar, we got a dream, and I think that spirit is what drives us forward, because it's like playing it. So I use a lot of sports analogies, so my apologies. But in football, it's like a defensive back, if anyone's a football fan, right? You may get burned for the touchdown. You got to forget that play immediately and move on to the next play. So you're going to have bad days. You're going to have misses. You're going to have things that didn't work out. You're going to have things that you thought this was going to change everything. And then it goes away, right? Are you ready to get back up, get back on your horse and ride, And that's what it's really about. So there is no quit in us, right? No quit. You can't win if you quit.
I will have to respectfully disagree with that. I feel like I want to quit every day. I'm just gonna keep it real. Y'all know I will keep it real. Like, it is daunting every single day. But the thing that comes back to me is that I have built something that is much bigger than myself. When you build a brand in a community and you provide a product within a specific niche that like nobody else has tackled, you now have an obligation to the community that you serve. And so the things that keep me going is not about money. It's not about success. It's definitely not about fame. It's about me, again, from that core reason or my why of being able to provide access to clean beauty products to people who look like me and people who need these products. That is my core why that keeps me going. And I let the universe honestly do the rest of the work, because half of the time I don't know where I'm going or what's happening. But, you know, I believe personally that, like, if you are purpose driven, then the purpose will continue to fulfill whatever you are putting into the earth.
Thank you all for that feedback and insight. Chat is blowing up over here. So I'm just gonna jump in again. If you're a meal prep food provider service, what are some resources of advice on how to scale your brand?
Find a niche. Find a niche of people that like a very specific thing about, you know, your kit or where you sell it, and just double down on that. You know, I think if you're for somebody, or if you're for everybody, you're for nobody. But how can you stand apart from the redefined meals, the Beast River meal prep, the Power Plate NYC that sells at barbell and kettlebell clubs? You're able to, you know, build out your base. I started with runners, and runners are everyday people that work jobs and have a network effect. So find a niche with a network effect, and you'll be able to lower your customer acquisition costs and kind of grow from there.
I jump in really fast. As someone who started buying boxes of ginger and, like, you know, blending and slicing and cutting myself, I'd say that figuring out, so like what Bradley said, like, you know, what makes you unique and standing out. And also when you're scaling, you should be thinking ahead. So for example, if you're going to grow, or maybe you're going to do events, like, you know, where can you buy your ingredients in bulk? And then also the logistics of things, like, you know, your certifications. Are you certified? Do you have a place where you can make your products? Like, you know, are you up to date on everything? Because Department of Agriculture, they will come for you. Like, I remember today, I was making these drinks like in the test kitchen. They're like, oh, like, you know, do you have this? I'm like, what is it? Your schedule process? I'm just like, wait, what is that? Then I had to go do it. I had to go get like a better food process certified, like so many certifications. And I'm just like, wait, I thought I could make drinks. Like, I just thought like it was that simple. So just make sure that you have your certifications, you have the processes, everything in place. Cornell Agricultural Department is a great resource. I have been working with them since day one, because, you know, I came out of college and I was the last class to graduate before we went into lockdown. So I didn't have a job. Like, you know, I didn't have, like, unlike some of you all who are coming from, like, you know, corporate America, like, you know, this was it. I came and I was just like, wait, it's either law school or like making beverages. And I was like, I'm gonna do these drinks. My parents lost it, like, you know, typical African parents. So you're not gonna be a lawyer. They lost their minds, like, you know, you really kick you out. They're like, it's the pandemic, but I will kick you out. Like, you got to choose one. So it was just like, you know, it was just really sitting down and, like, you're figuring out like everything I needed to do. But, like, you know, thankfully early in the process, like, you know, somebody put me onto Cornell and Rutgers. So, like, you know, if you have questions, like in terms of scaling, like, you know, pricing, your formulations, like, you know, your how you cook, all that stuff, like, you know, make sure that you have that going. And then on top of that, like, you know, making sure that pop-ups, doing events, having people taste. You can have, well, everybody thinks they make, like, for example, the best tomato sauce, but are your customers telling you that? Like, does it actually taste good? Like, you know, get that feedback, get outside, like, you know, sample, go to stores, like, you know, make sure that everything you're doing is validated before you start, like, you know, doing too much of it. That's like my little 2 cents for that.
And I think what Ivy's saying is really important, and it's also a really great question that applies to anyone starting a business, right? What are the rules? What are the regulations? What are the things that can trip you up down the road? A lot of us oftentimes will have this great idea, we'll start the business, we'll get going, but our vision field is pretty short. We're not thinking wide. We're not asking enough questions. We're not thinking big enough. Like, what happens if I get into a Whole Foods or whatever? Like, how does that work? And, you know, Laurent's been very helpful with us, just the whole Foods process. If you play ball with them, you'll see it's not a game. Like, it's a heavy lift. And same goes for Target and Walmart and all the big box accounts, right? And you may make a mistake or have an oversight because you didn't know, right? You weren't working at industry standard, right? And that could cost you your whole inventory. That could cost you your whole year or half a year's work and effort right down the drain tomorrow. You know what I mean? So doing due diligence, there's so many ways you can, you know what I mean? Ask questions, ask. Devil is in the details.
Think of details. We all know that less than 3% of all venture capital goes to women, minorities, veterans, period, right? Does that factor into your innovation and what direction you may go in with your business, knowing that there's a less potential that you'll get an investment? That's, just curious.
Yeah, you gotta hustle because you don't have the same avenues if you're a person of color or a woman. You just don't. So you've got to be more creative. You've got to do it other ways, and that's all we know. We haven't had the luxury of being able to just talk to a whole bunch of venture, at your disposal because we don't, it's not the world that we live in. So yeah, man, it's tougher, but that's why we also have community is more important, and investing in each other and in ourselves is more important. You know what I mean? Like affirmative action, like the DEI backlash is real in America, in corporate America, and as a friend of mine said recently, we've got to be our own affirmative action program for each other, right? We've got to put each other on, and that goes for people of color, women, whatever the case may be. If we don't advocate for ourselves, and if we don't help and invest in each other, it's going to be harder than ever. If we have access, if we have ways to help people access capital, or whatever the case may be, and we could build community together, and we can get behind worthy efforts together. That's going to be, again, more important than ever that we do that, because we're going to have less allies than ever.
Great point.
Definitely.
Any more questions, Adrian? One pull from?
Yes, we do. I feel like we did touch on this a little bit, but I'll just reiterate again in case anybody wants to weigh in. What advice for showing traction as a pre-revenue business? Or what is the biggest assumption you were wrong about when validating your business?
I can take this one first. I think the biggest thing is, I mentioned it a lot, data-driven decisions. And so really serving consumers, like not just people that know you, but people who don't know you, and asking to share with their community is really, really helpful and honestly eye-opening. We talked about sampling. It's the same thing when it comes to sampling with beauty products as it is with consumer products as well too, because you don't want to just get the opinions of people who love you and they're emotionally tied to whatever product that you're putting out into the market. You really want real-time feedback, and then also want to be really real with yourself as well too. Also, another key part, even when surveying, is making sure that their results are anonymous. Sometimes people are very sensitive about their information being put out into the public, and also about hurting your feelings. And so coming from a third party source, and allowing for, even for me now, right? I could have easily done a test study of 100 people in my community. I was saying, hey, did you guys get an allergic reaction? Okay, yeah, we're 100% allergic, like not 100% hyperallergenic. No, I wanted to go to, do an entity like Princeton and make sure that, there were absolutely no traces of anybody knowing anything about the brand recognition of Doso Beauty. It's just testing the actual product to see if it really does work. So the anonymous part there is key. Surveying is also key, and sampling, so that way you can get a plethora of different really, really good feedback, but also really bad feedback. And even with giving bad feedback, there's so much that's in there. Sometimes it could be clouded by a lot of emotions and things like that, but there might be a small part of your process that you can update, right, in order to make your business better, or to make your product better.
So
Okay, we have one more question here in the chat. If you are a farmer that provides fresh produce items at commercial scale, what is the best mechanism to connect multiple resources and communities across New York and bring benefit to areas where nutrition is key to healthy outcomes?
That's a hell of a question.
Finding specialty stores that you can sell directly to, whether they're, in the communities that you want to serve to address those outcomes, or just building a base to be able to build your brand locally and then parlay that into, your public benefit work.
Definitely. And
establishing demand, to that point, right? And getting into the community and making sure that this is something that not simply that the community will want or will benefit from, but that they are going to be actively a part of making it happen and sustaining it. You know what I mean? Sustainability is everything, not just environmental sustainability, all kinds of sustainability. And so it's something, because if you have the demand, then it's much easier to leverage the capital and, you know, and all the other things that you need to do to get it moving. But it's a heck of a question and an even bigger challenge. But these are the type of things where we have to, it's such a worthy effort. Like, how do you get capital behind that? How do you know what I mean? How do we have an ecosystem? You know, that the purpose of capital, the purpose of Wall Street was to deploy capital to the most worthy, you know, places that needed it the most, that could do the most with it. That's changed, right? But the need hasn't changed. So we've got to figure out other ways to support worthy causes that can be commercially beneficial to a lot of people.
And if you don't know who to go to, please leverage Naturally New York as a resource for any inquiries. If I don't know the right person, I know someone in my board or one of my partners do. And, you know, I think also just the power connection, right? Outside of just these webinars, we do host a lot of events. So if you are local to the area or even attending Expo West, we are hosting some upcoming events. Just drop in our chat to register. Ivy, I know you'll be there. I don't know about the rest of you, but I'll definitely be there. And there's more founder forums to come. So this is not just the end of this series by any means. I'm very excited to continue to produce more of these with Laurent and team. So
Yeah, thank you very
have
much.
4 minutes
Yeah.
if you'd like to provide some closing remarks.
Yeah, this has been amazing, man. I look forward to doing more events like this. I know actually more in person. You know, we want to get started, so we got it virtually. So that way it made it easy for everyone to get here. But I'll take these last couple of minutes to let you guys share anything you want to, any thoughts you want to, you know, share with the crowd, the audience, the people. Where to find your products, anything you're coming up. Is there an event coming up for one of you? I know Michi, Juice Runner's coming out with a tequila. Bradley, what you coming out with a coconut version of, you know, Khadijah, you got something coming down in Detroit, my hometown. Ivy, what's up?
We're having a party on March 9th.
Oh, March 9th. Okay.
So I'll pull the email list from the RSVPs. Everybody's invited. And you can find us at 10 Building. We're restocking them very soon. You can find us there on Fresh Direct. But appreciate you all.
Yep. JuiceRunners.com for anyone who loves great canned cocktails. We're also doing premium spirits this year, more product offerings. We really love what we do, and we love what we make. So check it out. We hope you do too.
Yes, then over here in the next 60 to 90 days, we do plan on offering shipments where we start shipping. So we're working on that so that people can
direct to consumer, DTC.
Yes,
Awesome.
yes, it's happening. It's happening. And also, if you're in the 5 boroughs of New York City, we're working on testing out like same day or next day delivery if you're based in New York City. So that's in the works. So yeah, you'll be the first to find out. But yeah, it's in the works. Yep. 2024, going big.
Khadijah, here.
Yes. We got a couple of things happening. The first one is we will be launching on Target.com within the next 2 weeks. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
Super hyped because Target has been telling me no, don't take no for an answer, y'all. There's always a way to get around it. Tell me no for years. So launching on Target.com in a few weeks. We also are launching in the Black Beauty Collective in Chicago, Illinois. So if you are in the Chicagoland area, come shop with us on March 23rd at the Black Beauty Collective. We'll be doing our braid bar so you can get your hair touched up, all the things in Chicago. And then in this summer, we are going to be opening up our first retail and salon location. So that's more to come there. It'll be in
Atlanta,
Philadelphia.
New York, Detroit,
Philadelphia.
Philly?
We are a Philly-based business. We are opening it up in Philly. I'm very, very excited. So yeah, we got a lot to come. But y'all can follow us on all social media platforms, Doso Beauty, DOSSO. We're SEO optimized. So if y'all just type that in, it'll pop up. And dosobbeauty.com as well, too.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Really love hearing your stories. Have a wonderful day, and we will see you again soon.
Thank you again, everyone.
Ron, thank you, Adrian.
Thank you for
Thank
joining.
you,
Thank you,
everyone.
everybody.
Thank you for participating.